a very important lesson from last week's interview with wildly successful employment lawyer Ryan Steigar. Remember, concisely addressing prospects' legal questions and problems, along with regularly posting, are the two keys to success on social media. Injury lawyers have to address topics outside of car accidents, which the average viewer doesn't really care about until they're actually in one, but most other lawyers can stick within their specialty. And boosting your popular videos will certainly accelerate your progress and cost hundreds instead of thousands, like most other legal marketing expenses, right? Okay, turning to today's session, my interview is with Florida Injury Solo, focused on maximizing his take-home pay from a reasonably length work week and using social media to help generate his new business and compensation goals. Let's get started. Hi there, welcome back to the Grow with Cara show. Today we continue our interview series with successful attorney marketers. We're taking a close look at what's working, what's not, the specific steps these attorneys took to get to where they are. And remember, these are simple steps that you too can follow to get on a similar path to growth. Okay, let's get to it. Today, our special guest is attorney William Franchi. William is the founder of Franchi Injury Law, a rapidly growing personal injury firm in Florida. He's recovered millions of dollars for his clients. We're excited to have him here today. Welcome, William. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in. So to begin, William, tell us just a little bit about your story and why you launched the firm.
Sure. So, I guess the story of launching the firm is kind of the short version of kind of how I got here, right? Which it was a career change. So I was a deputy for 6 years, and long story short, got hurt. I was already in law school and changed careers and fell into personal injury. I had no thoughts of leaving the sheriff's office. I figured I'd get my law degree and eventually work my way up into general counsel's office and do things through there and stay there for 25, 30 years and be done. Things kind of changed after a little bit of an injury, and did some corporate law for a year and a half and fell into a personal injury firm and found out that I really like it. And it turns out that I'm pretty decently good at it, I guess. And just decided to make that change there. And after 4 years at a firm, there were some opportunities in some other ancillary businesses that I decided to take. And along with that, they said, hey, we don't care if you start your own firm, kind of alongside some of these other business and kind of entrepreneurial opportunities. So I did that. And the business that was the catalyst I ended up selling off, ended up not being as fruitful as what was originally thought. And it was really thought that the law firm would almost be, I don't want to call it an afterthought, but the original model was much smaller, few cases each month. That was it, because it was just to stay in it, just to supplement what was going on with the other business. And they completely flipped and the law firm took off. And that's kind of where we are and how we got here today. I mean, I started off in a spare bedroom in my house when I left my firm, using my business partners from the other venture, using their conference room, and just kind of started it all from there and grew from there to an executive suite, to a bigger office, to then, another bigger office. And that's where we are right now.
That's a great little entrepreneurial story. I love that. I love that. What year was that you actually launched the firm then?
2017.
Oh, okay. Okay, nice. How were you bringing in cases early on? You're out on your own. Now it's time to bring in some business. How were you doing that?
So, really right in the beginning, 40 cases came with me when I left my firm. So it gave me a little bit of time. I had no safety net. I like to say that I had a really strong plan as to how I was going to do that, but I didn't. I ended up trying lots and lots and lots of different things. I ended up wasting, it turns out, a lot of money in trying those things, radio, TV, some lead gen type places. None of those things really worked. It took a long time. And so I was surviving with those 40 plus the word of mouth from prior clients at the old firm who still had my cell phone number and potentially would call me, or they would call over there, and sometimes they would get kind of shuttled over to me from over there. So, there was a lot of pieces to the puzzle, but in the beginning, it was kind of hit or miss.
Yeah. That's interesting. Obviously nice that you had a little bit of that cushion with the 40, but I'm sure it set in pretty quickly that you gotta start figuring something out. So tell us now, how are you positioning the firm? What type of cases are you primarily handling? Give us an idea of case volume now.
Sure. So right now, any given time we have 250 cases, which I find is a pretty good sweet spot. I try to keep us right at that 250 cases. That means we need to bring in 10 to 15 cases a month. We then, in addition to that, need to try to resolve and close out 10 to 12 cases a month to keep that same volume and that same number moving. It's taken some time to try to figure out what that sweet spot is, and we've been bigger, we've been smaller, we've been somewhere in between, and we're in that somewhere in between right now, and it's a very comfortable position to be in. I mean, look, this business is ridiculously high overhead, right? So when you look at it from a business perspective, personal injury firms, the overhead on it is nuts, and so I try to bring that down, and I brought that down really as much as I can. And what that means is it gives us that sweet spot of 10 to 15 new cases every month, which it's comfortable. I don't have to fret. I don't have to worry about, my God, I have 4 attorneys that I got to make sure that we make payroll for
Right.
every single month, and it doesn't matter if they bring in cases or not. So
Right.
it's just to me, it's a very good place to be.
Yeah. So you were essentially bringing down that overhead by decreasing the caseload. Is that kind of what you were saying, or are there other ways that you were kind of bringing down the overhead?
Yeah, so through other ways,
Yeah. Yeah.
being able to marketing's the biggest, right? Marketing, I don't want to say everybody. I don't want to make that broad generalization, right? But the salespeople who market the marketing places, right? See a personal injury attorney and they go, oh, they'll pay a lot of money, right? So all of a sudden, our advertising costs are extremely high. I mean, we'd run 15 to 20% of our revenue on advertising costs really at any one time. And if you look at how other businesses run, 10% is usually a fairly hard cap
Yeah.
for it. And with what I've done is I've been able to go, okay, now we can spend, with the way we're doing things, we can spend 10 grand in marketing, which gives us it's pretty close to 10%,
Yep.
right, of our total revenue, right?
Yep.
That to me puts us in a really good spot. You can kind of go nuts with the software that's out there, and I'm a huge proponent of efficiency and finding software that gets you to that right efficiency and automates systems. I mean, even before all of this, in the last few weeks or months, this AI piece of, oh my God, AI is the next big thing. I mean, we had a lot of systems that have been automated over time, and I've started to take a look at some of those and go, do we really need 2 systems that essentially do the same thing, but one of them is a little bit more automated than the other one, right? Do we need to spend, $400 a month for duplicating efforts? And is it making us less efficient because we have 2 systems that are doing the same thing? Yes, one's a little bit more automated, but one has limitations on what it does. So
Yep.
it's those types of things, kind of bringing down the overhead, keeping staff, right? I mean, the more efficient you are, the less staff you need to create the same end result, right? And so I try to rely on software to allow us to run a much smaller staff than we otherwise would need. I mean, I came from a firm that was all paper, right? I mean, the first couple of years of this firm, we still had the big red folders with the bankers boxes we didn't have any place to put them because we were paperless, and I wasn't going to invest in where do we store this stuff, right? Because we only have this many and that's it. We're not putting in any more,
Yeah.
type of thing.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm interested, what does your sort of software stack look like? What are you using from a tech perspective? Any suggestions or recommendations there?
so we started with Filevine. We've had Filevine for 3 or 4 years now. They were seemingly much smaller at the time, but we jumped in with Filevine and VineSign, which is a company they own. It's essentially like DocuSign,
Hmm.
right? So we could do everything right within. And I don't remember the exact timeline on some of the things that they added over time, but from within it, we can fax right within it. We can text clients right within it. We send everything that goes out in the mail also gets sent via a link to the client. So that way the client and by text message, right? Because I feel like most of our clients don't check if they check email, they don't check it regularly, or I don't know, maybe they're only looking for the order from the shipping status for whatever they ordered online. They're not looking for the email from me, right? At the end of the day, whatever it is they're looking for, they're not looking for my email. But if I send them a text message, they look at it and respond to it. And to me, that was always the biggest thing was I want my lawyer to communicate with me more. And I was always right on 30 days. Every 30 days, I'm reaching out, even before I started my own firm, every 30 days. And I would still get complaints. Well, I don't hear from my lawyer enough. I don't feel like I'm kept up to speed enough. And I'm sitting there going, how can I do more? How can I reach out to all of these people more than once every 30 days? And through using the text messaging, it's been great because I mean, I actually have had a couple people complain in the opposite direction that they've gotten too much communication. So I take that. I love that.
Yeah.
I will take that complaint every day of the week. So Filevine's been great for that. We use Lead Docket, and Lead Docket for us has become duplicative, just because yes, it's great. It automates the 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 life cycle of the lead, right? And then once it's signed up, then it moves over to Filevine.
Yeah.
But and I'm sure Filevine would love me saying this. You can do the same things in Filevine
Right.
that you can in Lead Docket, right? And one of them's a workaround because I haven't figured out yet how to truly automate text messaging within Filevine. Maybe some of the guests on your show
Yeah.
have figured that out, and
Yeah.
they can reach out to me and go, "Hey, this is how you do it."
Yeah.
I haven't been able to get it down to the granular level that I want to that Lead Docket does, but at the same time, you can auto create a task for somebody to send a text message and and all they have to do is copy and paste it. So it takes them 3 seconds all within one system versus bouncing between multiple ones. But I mean, we're running Filevine keeps buying stuff up. And so I find that we're actually using less and less software and being more and more efficient. PDFs were a great example, right? We always had to have Adobe and have all the licenses so that we could edit PDFs and remove pages and add pages and do those things. Now we do them all in one system. So, and it's little things like that also that somewhat help us reduce overhead. I mean, the software costs are huge, and I mean, the little secret to all the attorneys out there who don't aren't as up to speed in software sales. Software sales is basically all profit. So negotiate with those software providers, software as a service, SAS. It's like printing money. So those of you out there, negotiate with them, and they'll tell you, that's the bottom line. Yeah, push it all the way because it is all profit.
Yeah, I like that tip. That's a good tip. I'm just interested the content of these text messages that you're now sending regularly. Case updates, educational. What are you sending via text?
So it depends on the status. So if it's a lead, right, they're getting more educational. So I've done a lot of videos over time. I was on TV for a little while, so I have some of that footage. Then I also have videos that I've done right here that the first one that goes out the moment they enter the system is just a, hey, how you doing? This is who I am. Hey, this is William Franchi. Great, appreciate you reaching out, and something along those lines. It's been a while since I've recorded it, but it goes out to them like that. And then each step of the way is, hey, maybe why should you hire us? What do we do differently, or not necessarily what do we do differently? What do we stand for, right? So we have the Frankie Law Promise that outlines several different things that we're going to make sure that we do, and that to me is huge. And I kind of outline it in one of the videos. So in the lead stage, they're more educational and informative. So that way the person knows that I know what I'm talking about. as we move into the case stage, it's it's very much less automated. That we actually don't really have any automation for within the case stage, because it's so case specific, right? It's, hey, we know you had this appointment on this date. We just wanted to check in, see how everything was going, or hey, this is what we found out on your case, and we want to let you know this is the status. If we send letters out to the insurance company, demand not kind of trivial things, not necessarily a letter of representation, but things that have a little bit more substance, we actually send the client a link via text message. Hey, this is the document that went out on your case. So and whether or not they care what the content is, at least they know and can see over and over and over again that we've been sitting and not sitting around doing anything, nothing, but we're sitting and doing all the work that is necessary for their case.
Really smart, really smart. Because when they don't hear from you, unfortunately, they think that not a lot is happening, right? So
Right.
that's really smart. I also love kind of your automated prospect sequence because you build that once and it's pretty hands off, right? I mean, and I can
Right.
imagine that having a big impact on those prospective clients who are maybe interviewing several attorneys, not really sure exactly the best fit. And if you're the only one sending them that information, helping them along the way, you're clearly setting yourself apart, right?
Exactly. And we try to stay, and it's an overused term, but I don't know of a better term to use for it. So if you have one, I'm all ears, but trying to stay top of mind, not only with those prospects, but then also with clients who are now former clients, right? Because their case is resolved, and we want them to remember us. I mean, I can't tell you how many people that I've talked to over time who say they want to fire their attorney. I go, hey, no problem. I'll talk to them about their case. They'll go, hey, I want to hire you. Okay, great. I appreciate that. Uh, who do we send the fire letter to? Who are we letting know that you no longer want them to represent you? And they go, I don't know.
Huh. Wow.
I don't know who my attorney is.
Wow. Yeah.
And you could look at it from one of two ways. Hey, that person's really not paying attention to what's going on, so they don't know. Or is it more of that no one ever talks to that person?
Right.
It's been 60, 90 days and that person hasn't been talked to, and you go, okay. I mean, that's the biggest dig I could ever have anybody give to my firm was, well, I don't know who my attorney is. Now,
Mm-hmm.
granted, I've had clients say that, and I look back through the file and I'm like, well, I don't know how you don't know, because I've
Yeah.
seen 6 text messages in the
Right.
last 4 weeks and 3 phone calls. So
Right. Of course.
how you didn't know, I don't know, right?
Right.
But
That's on you. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's something completely different going on.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of back to a couple basic questions. How big is your team? How many attorneys and support staff?
So as of now, I'm the only attorney. I had multiple attorneys last year, in 2022, and when the last one left, I just looked at what was being done and how it was being done, and if any of them hear this, it's not a dig on any one person, right? So I want to make that clear, and I'm not trying to speak bad about anybody, but I just looked at the whole and I said, I can pick up this work, right? The office from a management standpoint is running itself. So I'm just going to pick it up and run with all of the litigation. I review every single case. We have 250 cases. I could tell you what's going on with every single case. Um, I review everyone. My director of case management and I sit down at least once a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, and we review cases. And then I handle all of the litigation cases, which with the law change in Florida went from very manageable to just being outright nuts, in a matter of a week, right? Um, but so I'm the only attorney, and we outsource some of our paralegal work, but they're actually in our office, so it's outsourced to a company, but the people actually sit in our office full time, and are contracted, and then we have a couple people that actually work for the law, like our actual law firm employees that
Sure.
help progress cases through.
Nice. At what percentage pace is the firm currently growing, William?
So we're absent an outlier. We just resolved a pretty big outlier, which is going to bump up the firm's revenue for this year. Pretty right now we're steady, which I love. we had 2 years ago, we doubled, which a little bit more than double. We went from being, I want to say we were at about six or 700,000 coming into 2020. And in 21, we did 1.6 million in fees.
Nice.
Um, I mean, it just, we tried some different things, right? When COVID hit, I tried some different marketing pieces, right? Got a lot more on the social media side of things, but all of our focus on internet related and social media related marketing, right?
Yeah.
That's not to say that I didn't make some stupid mistakes trying to dive back into TV, um, but because I'm a little hard headed, it turns out. But yeah, so we made some changes that in March of 2020, and because people were pulling out, right? And it gave this really good opportunity to go, hey, you have all these people pulling out. We tried different things and we stayed with what worked. So I went back to radio, for example, and
Interesting.
I said, hey, and the host, the show's host, and I, friends to this day, and we're friends then, and it was. I go, hey man, let's try this out again. Let's just see if it works, right? And because I knew they were losing sponsors left and right,
Right.
so I got in with a great deal, right? So my risk was a lot lower, and so it allowed me to take some money and put money in a couple different places. And social media and internet won by a landslide, pulled out of all those other things, and that's where we saw the big jump. Some of that was we had a couple of really high dollar value cases right at the end of the year. We just, for whatever reason, we got a big spurt of them in, and great, like I'll take it. So if you were to look at it as a graph, yeah, we're a little bit less than that, but we're still more than double where we were 2 years ago, but in a way that it's very controlled, it's
Right.
very steady.
Right.
And I think that's the thing, right? You can essentially, I think, have two different points of view of where you want to be, right? And I know there's a lot of attorneys out there that they just want to shoot for the moon and they want to be, the biggest, the best, make the most amount of money, and great. I to me, the steadiness and knowing, okay, this is how much we're going to make every single month. This is how much that I'm going to be able to bring home and have that just even line across.
Yeah.
I love that. To me,
Yep.
that's
Yep.
perfection.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's impressive growth, but your setup now sounds very manageable, steady, predictable, which, I mean, that's invaluable, right? I can
It
definitely understand that. Yeah.
it is, and you know what? Even with being predictable, you're still going to have, which we just did it. You're still going to get those cases that you go, oh my god, like, okay, like, it comes out of nowhere,
Yeah.
right, and resolves, and you go, wow, right, and it's an outlier in the fees, but now, so all of a sudden we'll look at the year and go, wow, we had a spectacular year, but we didn't. If you took that one away, straight line,
Yeah.
which is great, and you
Yep.
take those big wins, and as long as everything else is a straight line, and that straight line's where you want it to be,
Yep.
it's good, it's functional. I mean, I have a family. I have a wife and a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, right? That's my why, right? If you will. That's why I do this, and I want to see them while they're 6 and 3, not when they're 16 and 13,
Yep.
right? I mean,
Yeah, I love that. I also have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, so I can
oh,
relate.
very cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's talk about really, you mentioned a 15 to 20%, investment of revenue in marketing. We'll obviously dive into all the great things you're doing on social media. I really want to talk about that. But how are you spending the money specifically? What are you investing in outside of the organic social media?
So right now, the past couple months, nothing. I pulled it all back,
Oh, okay.
um,
Got it. Got it.
and I've been able to do it in such a way that when we have big months of referrals, I can pull back and go, okay, we got our 10 to 15, right? Because we start going above that, all of a sudden we start stressing the staff, right? And then we got to look at it and go, do we need to hire more? But then if you hire another person, is it just that you need 5 more cases, or is it more likely you need 10 to 15 more? And then how do you get, right? So there's all these little incremental pieces that come into play.
Yep.
But kind of historically, uh, big focus on social media. So some of that actually is, we call it organic, right? But it's not really organic. I mean, what you see on social media, I'm paying for it in a sense because I don't manage it myself. I don't shoot it myself. I have a social media manager who comes in, and I mean, she actually works for the firm, but she comes in, says, here's the topics. And I'm just comfortable enough that she'll just give me topics
Yeah.
and I will just run with those topics, and like literally one sentence. Let's talk about, what happens if if you have an open container in your car, right? That's kind of the prompt that she'll give me, and
Nice.
then we'll just be off and running.
So are you
And then she
recording in
edits it.
batches? Okay, she's
What's
editing.
that?
Yeah. I was just so you're recording in batches, you record several videos at once and then she'll edit and schedule those out.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll do probably hour and a half every 2 weeks,
Huh,
and we'll shoot at least 2 weeks worth of content.
nice. Nice.
And then every once in a while, I'll see something or I'll do something, and I'll grab a couple more pieces, shoot them over to her. She'll do all the editing. She'll do all the posting. She does all the engagement. I mean, that's
Ah,
it's it's not to give away some of the secret sauce, right? But social media is not just about what can I put out there, right? What
right.
content can I put out there? Some of it's the engagement and getting what those social media platforms want. Yes, they want the content, but they want to see that you're actually engaging with the other content.
Yeah.
But then also we'll do some advertising on social media as well. And depending on the flow of everything, we have a couple of lead gen companies that we'll work with
Hmm.
that, and they work really solely in that social media space. And we'll use those to supplement if we go, okay, we were a little slow in January, February, let's say. Okay, let's go back and let's add some in with those, get some volume back up, catch up a little bit, and keep things nice, even and straight line.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're obviously very active on social media. You're at the Law Father Tampa on Instagram. You have
Yep.
more than 106,000 followers, really loyal following. Let's talk about your approach a little bit. You seem to sort of lean into maybe slightly controversial topics. I don't know if that's okay to say. You like your wildly popular video, "You Should Sue Your Girlfriend." That
Yeah.
looks like a top performer for you. Tell us about your approach and what is resonating.
Yeah. So that was all by accident, right? That one was actually, so I had a social media company before the person I have now that manages it. And we were pretty stagnant. We were pretty stagnant at around 1,600 followers. And I believe the "You Should Sue Your Girlfriend" one was the first one that we did that really took us from that small following and just shot it up. And all of those 106, those are all organic followers. We have not
Wow.
purchased
Wow.
one follower, one like. I mean, those people who are listening have probably seen those messages come in, pay us X number of dollars, and we'll get you followers and likes and all that. Never done that one bit. The only money I've ever spent is on actual advertising, right?
So you're boosting some of these posts?
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
depends on the time.
Yeah.
Right now, this year I haven't done a ton of that. I need to actually get back into that.
Okay.
Sometimes there's the downfall, right? With being the only attorney,
Mhm.
is sometimes I go through periods where I have to be the attorney and not
Yeah.
the marketing guy, right? But that one took off, and I just kind of went, wow, okay. Didn't really mean for it to be controversial. Didn't really think it was controversial. I actually had a case. Like it came from a legitimate case that was, I think I had just resolved it
Oh, that's cool.
when
Yeah.
that happened. And it was just like, okay, yeah, this sounds like a good idea because most people don't know that.
Right.
And quite frankly, it seems like a lot of times that there's a high percentage of people who are boyfriend, girlfriend, they get in a crash and then they break up,
Yeah.
right? So it seemed like a really kind of natural progression of a video. And then I started saying, okay, well, I guess the controversial, if you want to even call it, like I don't even
Yeah.
look at it as
Yeah. I don't know if
controversial,
that's the
right?
right word. Right. Right.
It
Yeah.
it kind of works. And there's been things that other videos that if you look at the comments, all of a sudden they're controversial.
Right.
However, to me, when I did it, it was tongue in cheek. Like
Right,
there were
right.
some of the drinking ones, like to me, some of the points are meant to be. There was one. There was a. It was. It's not illegal to use drugs in Florida, and that took off. That took its own life form. And to me, I'm like, the nerd in me really loves the nuances in the law and in the ability to go,
Right.
Florida law just says it's illegal to possess a drug, to
Mhm,
actually hold on to it, right?
mhm.
But the actual ingestion of it, you can do it all day long. And then I didn't even think in the video, I go, if you could figure out how to ingest that without possessing it,
Yeah,
hey, great.
that's
But it's not illegal. Like the actual getting it in is not illegal.
that's great.
And
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
got this own life form of, kind of, you're a scumbag. How dare you say that? Like, to me, it's funny. It's interesting.
Right.
It's the nerd version of the law.
Right, right. Well, I feel like that's kind of become your social media persona to some extent, right? Is these
Yeah.
interesting discussions, sparking topics. Often I talk to attorneys who they're maybe not getting the traction they want on social media, and maybe they're being too narrow, too focused on their area of practice, or answering these very detailed questions. How have you found kind of taking that broader approach has helped you gain this following and really grow on social media?
Uh, First, I try to answer every single DM that comes in.
Hmm.
So I think that helps a lot. And maybe some of it's personality, right? I mean, what you're seeing there on social media, that's just me. Like that's I guess it's a separate persona because I'm a little bit more reserved, right? But it's it's just all about being you and taking that and having an understanding of the law because the reality is car crashes aren't exciting. They're not. So many people dislike car accident lawyers, right? So you can't just get on there and go, well, this is what you should do after a car accident, or even worse, if you've been in a car accident, you should hire me,
Yeah.
right? It just doesn't work. So you gotta do it a different way, right? And by by giving people the knowledge and information of other topic areas when they need you, right? When they get in that crash, you're already the one that they've gone, hmm, yeah, I've liked what he's had to say, right? Gun laws are great for social media,
Mm.
right? Because you want to talk about just dropping a little nugget in there and then letting everybody go for a free for all.
Right.
That's a perfect one. And then all of a sudden, I get people that I'm friends with that I'll see out, every once in a while. They go, "Hey, man, you know what? That video you just did the other day was really informative." And I got to go, uh, which one? Like I have no idea.
Yeah.
But they'll tell me, "Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, it's really cool," and it's just really,
Yeah.
it's kind of neat to see that, and you kind of get the feeling that when they need you, they know where to go because they trust the advice that you've given them on other things,
Yep. Yep.
right? Unlike other products, right? Other products, you go, I can market to you because I think you want this product right now, right? I could market suits to attorneys all day long, every day of the week, and just inundate them with ads and everything else, and they're always going to be in the need for you. You're always going to have enough people in the need and want to do one right then, or even they don't think they want one, right? And they go, I want one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't will somebody into a car accident.
Right.
That's the big difference,
Right.
right? And like I said, they're boring. It is boring to just go hire me for your car crash.
Yeah, yeah, and that's certainly not distinguishing yourself in any way, right? And you're
Right.
on their radar because you are providing this interesting content that anyone would find appealing, whether or not they're actively looking for an attorney at that exact moment. Right, right.
Right. Exactly.
So, talk about lead flow through social media. If you've kind of dropped off, many of your other marketing channels, I assume that you are generating leads through social media.
We are, and it's a various different pieces of direct messages and phone calls in. And that's really
Nice.
how those are coming in.
Nice. How many a month would you say you are generating?
I'd say we're probably getting about half every month. So, about 6 to 7 every month from that. And the piece that's impossible to measure, right, is the other half is pretty much referrals from past clients,
Mm.
right? Well, one of the ads that we run are targeting or retargeting, if you will, past clients, right? Because Facebook and Instagram give you the ability to upload names, emails, addresses, right? And you can create an audience based on that. What's impossible for me to measure is what impact did them having our social media ads pop up, right, to them, and they go and their friend goes, "Hey, I just got in an accident. I know you had one. Oh yeah, you need to call Frankie Law," right? Is it because of the experience, or is it the experience plus that they're seeing it over and over and over and over again?
Right, right, a combination for sure. So just so I'm clear, it's 6 to 7 cases a month, or
Yeah,
is
about six to
per month?
seven
Oh,
cases
nice.
each month, and then about the other half roughly is referrals from
Nice.
past clients or past clients themselves getting in new crashes.
That's great. Yeah, that's good. And you are putting some money into kind of more traditional social ads. What are you promoting through those Facebook or those Meta ads? Are those more salesy, or are they still educational?
So one of them is I try to just go like overarching branding, right? Billboard type ad, but without the call me, right?
Mhm.
Just get the actual branding piece of getting name and logo out there, right? And then the other one that I usually run two different ones. Try to keep it small. But the other one is more educational, but more directed to car accidents. And
Yeah.
then what I typically have done, which I have actually pulled back from just a little bit right now, is boosting some of those kind of more controversial Instagram posts.
Yeah. Yeah. How much
And I
money?
don't I call them controversial, but they're
Yeah.
I don't really sit here and think that they are controversial.
Right, right, right. I agree with that. Yeah. Your audience is determining that they are controversial.
That exactly.
Yeah. So what about TikTok? I know you're on the platform a little bit. Did you start on Instagram?
Um, yeah. I've started on Instagram,
Yeah.
TikTok. I don't know. TikTok's kind of owned me in a sense. I haven't been able to figure out and crack the code. I mean, we have I think 29,000 followers on TikTok,
Yeah.
which is not nothing,
Yeah.
but considering kind of historically TikTok was easier to get followers, I just I don't know. That one to me is I let my social media person handle that one.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. I don't have time to figure it out.
Yeah.
I just know that I'm probably not going to do any TikTok dances.
Yeah. Well, you're killing it on Instagram. And like you said, that tends to be the more difficult one to really build that following. So that's impressive. So Instagram, TikTok, they're obviously national platforms, of course. Are you referring your out of state social leads to other firms?
I do. Yeah, I have a couple relationships that I'll use to try to refer those.
And are you receiving referrals from the network? Are you building that network?
Uh not really.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems
Yeah.
whoever I'm giving them to doesn't seem to get anything back in Florida. So,
Mhm. Okay.
it's very restricted. It's a very one-way street.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
but you know what? It is what it is. And could I do a better job of that? Could I build a bigger and better network? I know there's attorneys. There's a guy out, and I think he's in LA that he has an actual network that I think he manages and sets up.
Yeah.
I go, I don't have the time for that.
Right.
I don't necessarily have the need for it. I'd rather be able to go to the guys that I know and like and go, hey, I can refer, and I'll always clear it with the person. Hey, I don't work up in New York. Do you mind if I, give your information to this person? Or I'll say, hey, reach out to this person at this law firm because I'm not licensed there, and
Yeah.
it works. It does what I needed to do.
Yeah, you're taking care of that prospect, establishing goodwill, and I'm sure it doesn't take a whole lot of your time to do that, right? So that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I don't have to manage a whole platform of referrals and making sure that everybody's happy and all the headaches that kind of go along with that.
sure, sure. I like to ask, because you did mention AI at the beginning of the interview. Are you using AI in your practice, either for marketing or some of your daily work?
I have not yet.
Mhm.
I know Fileline actually reached out to me and they want to pitch me on using their AI platform. Well, okay, so I take it back. I'm not using it, but I know my social media manager has
Hmm.
started using it.
Nice.
So because the last group of topics that she brought to me, she generated from AI,
Wow. How were they?
and they were actually really good for
Yeah.
topics.
Yeah.
There was like 20 of them. I'm like, how? Where did you have the time to find 20 topics from yesterday to today, type of
Yeah.
thing? And then she kind of fessed up, was like, yeah, this is where I got it from. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
you know, I'm interested to see what it leads to. I'm not in a hurry necessarily to adopt it, only
Sure.
because of the systems that we've set up and the efficiencies
Yeah.
that we've set up. So if you look at it from a really deep dive, if you will, into kind of the day to day, our system is set up that we're actually building our demand letters as we go,
Hmm.
right? So when medical records come in,
Mm.
rather than us just inputting notes from those medical records,
Smart.
we're actually writing that piece of the demand,
Smart.
right? And we do that all along the way. And then I have all the calculations for damages. They're
Mm.
already kind of pre-populated. So as long as you know all your medical information and you know your days, your hours, and pay rate of lost wages, you put the information in and boom, it's automatic as they're ready to go. So part
Smart.
of it for me with I don't necessarily feel the push to jump in because everything's automated as it is.
Sure. You have some great processes, great foundation in place. I can see why you're able to be so efficient. So before we wrap up, William, I always like to ask, if a lawyer watching only has time to adopt one, maybe two of your tips, what would you recommend?
Hmm. From a marketing perspective, a law firm perspective,
Let's leave it wide open. Maybe one marketing, one law firm.
so and maybe this applies to both. That
Yeah.
really do stay true to yourself, right? And don't watch and follow what everybody else is doing. I mean, I know that there's other attorneys out there that have the social media game really dialed in. And what I find over time, over the course of my life, that staying true to myself and doing things my way has always just worked out better. It's more genuine, it's more true, right? And if you can do that, I think you'll see a bigger growth both in social media and in client happiness and the law firm, because it's just people want genuine. They don't want to feel like they're having the wool pulled over their eyes. But also in that, you're then not comparing yourself to some of these other people who are out there and they have these massive followings and it's look at me, look at me, look at me. That's not my personality, right? It's never going to be. I'm never going to be the look at me guy, right?
Yeah.
Even though it may sound hypocritical in a, in a sense, being like, hey, you have this many followers, you must be. No, it's not. It's just happened. And then really the second piece is don't listen to what all the marketers have to say in terms of you need to buy this product, you need to spend this amount of money. Just straight lines. As long as that straight lines where you're in a spot that you're comfortable, right? So set a goal, set a target, figure out where you want to be, right? Realistically, where you want to be, not pie in the sky, like where you want to be. And if it's you want to be higher, okay, figure out how to get there. But once you get to that point, straight lines are good. Straight lines, less stress. It's less stress on the office too. It's
Yeah.
the hardest thing is getting people in, right? Getting employees in, training them, and then watching them leave,
Mhm.
right? And if you can create a nice straight line with what's coming in, what's going out, you can also create more employee happiness, which creates more loyal employees, which creates happier clients, which creates more clients, right? It's kind of a domino effect.
Yep. I love it. I love it. Stay true to yourself. Straight lines, don't get distracted. Simplify. I love it. You're very clearly, living and breathing those those concepts. So I really, really appreciate it, William. Thanks so much for your
You're
time today.
welcome.
You were super generous with your time and insight. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you very much for having me. I definitely appreciate that.
Lots of good stuff from William today, right? Here are the primary takeaways I see. Number one, starting with a take-home pay target is smart. William's wise to structure his firm around his pay and work week goals. He can actually start and work backwards from what he wants to net each month, right? And how many hours he wants to work to determine how many cases he needs to bring in and resolve each month. At what average dollar amount using X number of team members costing him X dollars. That analysis gives him clear numerical goals. Number two, efficiency and new business are key to hitting that pay target. The two biggest factors as achieving Williams' pay goals are keeping overhead low and affordably obtaining new clients. He's driving his overhead down by remaining the only attorney, and he keeps his marketing costs low by leaning pretty heavily on organic social media and past client referrals for new business. Number three, when successful, organic social media remains the lowest cost marketing channel. For lawyers who are able to generate a sizable following, Instagram and certainly TikTok generate clients at a lower dollar cost than any other approach. The time commitment can be high depending on how much of the work you're delegating, but the dollar cost can be zero to under $1,000 a month, varying on how much boosting you're spending, how much boosting you're doing, how much you're spending on that. Number four, client communication and remaining memorable drive past client referrals. The two big factors which influence the number of referrals you receive from past clients are, of course, their satisfaction with your service, and two, your efforts to stay top of mind. Both require regular communication that really never ceases. And lastly, number five, William is missing a lawyer referral opportunity, in my opinion. So with his social media generating 6 to 7 Florida-based clients a month, I know that William's also regularly receiving inquiries from out-of-state prospects. Instead of referring those prospects to lawyers who never send him clients, William should build a referral network of lawyers who also have substantial social followings, right? He can do that efficiently. He can do that effectively with DMs. These social marketers also receive out-of-state prospects, including some from Florida, which they will send to William in exchange. I hope you enjoyed my interview with William. I hope it's been helpful. Next week's interview is really a special one. I interview a lawyer who is on the leading edge of using AI in multiple areas of his practice, including prospect education, client communication, work product creation, even marketing support. You don't want to miss it. I'll see you back here next week. Keep marketing. Take care. Bye-bye.